is Dr. Eno Nsima Obat, also known as Dr. Eno, and it's always a pleasure to come to you each and every Wednesday with new and refreshing insights designed to assist you in enhancing your health and well-being. Now, if you've been to my website, you may have seen my tagline, which says, helping today's 21st century woman prioritize her health and well-being. In other words, what is it that today's 21st century woman needs to make her health and well-being her number one priority? Now, you may have been through some of my blog posts and heard me speak about making sure that you are your number one priority, but step back for a moment and look for yourself. What truly does that look like in your life? Are you truly your number one priority? And so today's video blog is about taking a look at that question. And then once you have honestly answered that question using a tool that I'm going to share with you, the next step is to come up with some strategies to move you forward in enhancing your health and well-being by making sure you are your number one priority. Now, I'm going to say this until I came down with a chronic illness. I really, thought that I could go around taking care of everybody else and doing everything else until my body finally came down with cancer, and I had to come to that realization that no, I was not invincible. And so in jest, I'm currently a card-carrying member of Overachievers Anonymous. In other words, my priority as I go through my healing process is to really take a look at what it takes for me to make myself my number one priority. And that's without guilt, because a lot of times as women, we attach self-love and self-care to some element of guilt. So here's the exercise I'd like you to carry out, and I'd like you to, sit back. If you have a pen and paper, go ahead and grab that. And I'm going to invite you to look at several areas in your life. And then after I've given you the areas I want you to take a look at, I want you to write a number that assigns a priority. In other words, number one being the top priority, number two all the way down. So we're going to look at several areas in your life. I want you to write down the following: family, spouse, career, friends, and self. And so family, spouse, career/recreation, friends, and self. And I want you to look at those words that are written down on your sheet of paper, and I want you to assign a number based upon where you prioritize these particular areas right now in your life. Not where you wish they were, but where you prioritize these particular areas. For instance, if your number one priority, and you take a look, happens to be career, I want you to write career down as number one and then go through the rest of the four areas. For the most part, when I've performed this exercise, even with myself, I kind of find that I shift from self being the number one priority to maybe number two or number three. And it brings to mind what I have shared with you about the oxygen mask theory. So in answer to the areas that you need to prioritize, I will be including them in the body of this video blog. In other words, the writing below the video blog, so you can take a look for yourself. I won't give you the answers, but I want you to answer honestly here. But the oxygen mask theory really points to why it is important, if you have not already assigned self as your number one priority, why it's very important. Remember, before you take off on a flight, the flight attendant has a spiel that she goes over. And for the most part, it becomes white noise, right? We're used to it, especially if you travel a lot, you're used to hearing in case of a decompression of the cabin, oxygen mask will fall directly in front of you. Please secure your own mask first before turning to assist others. And you may wonder why that's important, especially if you have a young child with you. You may wonder, why would I want to attach my oxygen mask first before I attach the oxygen mask of my younger child or my younger companion. And that's because it's important to make sure you are connected to your source of well-being, in this case, oxygen. If not so, you will not be able to assist anybody else. And eventually, if you do it any other way, in other words, if you do not prioritize your self-care, then more than likely your cup will run dry. You will end up with chronic illness. You'll end up not feeling well. You'll end up not performing well. And so I'd invite you to carry out this exercise today. I want to make it very easy. I'm going to attach some additional reading for you. And then next week, we're going to go into what it really means to prioritize your self-care. So enjoy the exercise. I'd love to hear your feedback as to, where you were and why you felt you were there. I'd really like to start a dialogue around this, because prioritizing your self-care, in other words, making yourself your number one priority, does not need to be associated with any sense of shame, any sense of feeling less off. It's really very important, especially in today's 21st century. So until next week, here's to your health and well-being. Enjoy the exercise. And again, I'd love to hear your feedback. Goodbye, everybody.